Hello. So today for my presentation, I'll be discussing how stress and anxiety affect our health and wellness. And I wanted to start this presentation by just telling you why I chose this topic. It does have personal meaning to me because when I was 26, 3 years ago, I suffered a stroke. And after going through every test, every medical doctor wanted me to take, they were able to determine that my stroke was due to stress. And it was a really eye-opening experience for me because I had never realized that there was such a correlation between our mental health and our well-being and our physical well-being. So it really got me interested in what I could do to improve my mental health and my physical health. So I also want to mention that in a lot of ways, small doses of stress can actually be a really good thing for you. It can motivate you to do more. It makes us more creative. It pushes us to do more at work or in school. And some experts also say that short doses or short-term stress can boost our immune system. And today I'll be discussing stress from three lenses: biological, sociological, and psychological. So I want to start with how stress affects our body biologically. And it really ranges from more minor effects to some major ones. The minor ones include headache, loss of sleep and insomnia, feeling anxiety, a reduced immune system, so we're more susceptible to colds, flus, and other diseases. It elevates our blood pressure, causes fatigue, and in some cases it can cause people to be dizzy. Some major problems are cardiovascular problems, heart attack, stroke, as I mentioned. It can cause kidney failure, and for some women it causes infertility. And so the way that this works, the way that our body processes stress is, first, our body decides whether or not a situation is stressful based on sensory input and stored memories. And then our body, once our body decides that a situation is stressful, our hypothalamus is activated. The hypothalamus is a part of our brain that is responsible for stress reaction. Once the hypothalamus is activated, it triggers signals from the pituitary gland and the adrenal cortex. And this is a process known as fight or flight. And lastly, the hormone cortisol is released. And although cortisol can be a good thing for our body, too much exposure can cause long-term health problems. And so I have a graph to show you how stress goes through our body and some of the short-term and long-term responses. First, it increases our heart rate, it increases our blood pressure, it dilates our bronchioles, and then some of the long-term stress responses include, an increased blood volume and blood pressure, retention of sodium and water in the kidneys, which is what can lead to kidney disease, and increased blood glucose, which suppresses our immune system. And next I'll be discussing stress from a psychological lens. Stress can have a negative effect on our emotions and our psychological health in a myriad of ways, some of which include it can lead to depression, it can cause us to feel agitated, it can cause us to have mood disorders. A lot of times people feel lonely when they're stressed and just overall overwhelmed with the stresses in their life. It can also affect our cognitive abilities by leading to an inability to concentrate, having poor judgment, and feeling constantly worried. Lastly, I'll be discussing stress from a sociological lens. And stress can have an enormous impact on our interpersonal relationships. And it can affect the way we interact with people at work, our friends, our family. A lot of times when people are really stressed, they tend to withdraw. And they isolate themselves from their loved ones, and they also forego from social activities and hobbies that they once enjoyed. They neglect responsibilities at work and at school, and a lot of times people turn to unhealthy habits to try and forget about stressful situations. People turn to drinking excessive amounts of alcohol or drugs, smoking. These are all ways that, negative ways people tend to try and deal with stress. So I want to discuss, that leads me into positive ways that we can effectively manage stress. And one of the easiest ways to manage stress is physical exercise. Physical exercise reduces our levels of stress, the stress hormones cortisol and adrenaline, and also elevates our mood by releasing endorphins and serotonin, which is like a natural painkiller for our brain. Next, there are other physical activities, more mild, low impact physical activities such as yoga, tai chi, meditation, acupuncture, and breathing techniques can all help us to reduce our stress. So next, I want to discuss nutrition and how that can impact and minimize our stress. So certain foods can have a negative effect on our health. Some of the negative ones include simple carbs such as white bread, white pasta, foods that are high in sugar can actually make us feel more drained, which can lead to depression and can really further the negative effects of stress on our body. So some of the good foods to eat include complex carbs, which can be found in whole grain breads, whole grain pastas, and oatmeal. Foods that are high in magnesium also help with coping with stress, and that includes spinach, soybeans, salmon, and other leafy greens. And fish is also another great food for your overall health and coping with stress. And some of the best fish for you are the fattier fishes such as tuna, salmon, and snapper. They also have omega-3s, which help with your heart and blood pressure. And lastly, herbal supplements have been known to help cope with stress. St. John's wort is a very popular herb which is known to minimize mild forms of depression. Also, I know a lot of people who swear by drinking black and green tea because there are some herbs in it that people say have a calming effect and can help reduce stressful feelings. And now I want to discuss how we can cope with stress from a psychological lens. So the American Psychological Association suggests that we first identify the source of our stress. And for a lot of people, it can be multiple places: work, school, a particular assignment. We might have financial problems, health problems. And then we have to identify how it affects our body. And everybody is different. So somebody might have a headache when they're stressed, and other people might feel anxious. So it really is different for everyone, so it's important to identify how it negatively affects you. And then it's all about finding the healthy solution for that. Obviously, the ones I mentioned, physical exercise, proper diet, are great ways to minimize stress. And also, for me, I found that really maintaining your personal relationships, and when you're feeling stressed out, having someone to talk to really helps. And for more severe cases of stress, I really recommend talking to a professional, a counselor, a therapist, who can put you on medicine if you have more severe depression or a bipolar or anxiety disorder to help cope with stress. And lastly, it's really important to cope with stress to take time for yourself. Everybody is so busy these days, and allowing time to enjoy yourself, going on vacations, participating in hobbies, being social, really helps us all cope with stress. So this concludes my presentation for today. And like I said, stress is unavoidable. It will always be part of everybody's lives, and it's all about finding what works for you and how you can most effectively cope with it. So, thank you.